What up, peeps? Nick Battle, aka NinosCorner. First off, you like this content that is coming your way, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell, get all my notifications. It helps me grow the channel a lot. And folks, if you're listening to this on the streaming podcast platform, Spotify, Google Play, Apple Podcasts, like, comment, subscribe, and share that as well. It helps me grow the channel a lot. But today, folks, we're going to talk about, of course, it's Texas Alabama week, and it is Thursday. We're going to talk about does Texas have a chance? And I am saying that because people have seen how Texas fared against Rice, and people are trying to basically equate that performance against Rice to what they think is going to happen against Alabama. And then people are looking at Alabama and what they did to Middle Tennessee. And saying that if they won 56 to whatever and Texas only won 37 to 10, then Alabama's going to blow them out the water. Does Texas have a chance, folks? Let's get to that after our first sponsor. This episode is brought to you by BetUS.com. Go to BetUS.com and get yourselves a 125% sign-up bonus using the promo code NinosCorner at BetUS.com. Folks, go download that BetUS.com app from your favorite Apple phone or Android phone and get yourselves a 125% sign-up bonus using the promo code NinosCorner. All right, folks. So does Texas have a chance? Everybody knows that Steve Sarkisian is one of the best offensive minds here in college football. His opening game scripts are outstanding. They are amazing. They are something that you look at and you're like, oh my God, if you can have a whole game plan like that, we will dust every team that we play, no problems, hands down. The problem in the previous years, folks, it's not been the opening script. It's been how this team adjusted after halftime. It's been after that opening script is done, how does this team look? Let me tell you something. Against Rice, one thing that people do not want to bring up is, yes, we started off pretty bad against Rice. It was not the best start, 16-3 going into halftime. But that second half adjustment was outstanding. That third quarter coming out of halftime, outstanding ball. Quinn looked much more efficient. The team looked much more efficient. It was just a better brand of offensive ball. The defense looked outstanding the entire game. But the offensive side of the ball, it was just some outstanding football being played. And so one thing that gives me a little bit of hope here in this game, folks, is that we really adjusted after halftime. That was something that we haven't done at all over the previous 2 years with Steve Sarkisian. Now, we understand that this is a taller task here at Alabama. Right, it's the first time that a lot of these guys are going to be going to a stadium that's 100,000 plus and playing in front of one of the most rowdiest, fan bases that you're ever going to know and understand. I will be at that game, by the way, on Saturday. If you see me, tap me on my shoulder. Let's have a beer. But I tell you what, Steve Sarkisian is no dummy, folks. He's no dummy at all. Sark has something up his sleeve for this game, and it's going to be wonderful. It's going to be masterful. I think Steve Sarkisian understands that he has the talent on this team to do great things. Not only does he have Xavier Worthy, he has Adonai Mitchell, the transfer from Georgia, which I think is going to open up things significantly for Xavier Worthy and Jordan Whittington. And speaking of Jordan Whittington, folks, Jordan Whittington is just Mr. Reliable. Did you see those catches he had against Rice? Outstanding catches, the intermediate throws out of his 4 catches. He had 4 targets, 4 catches. Out of those 4 catches, 3 were successful in nature, folks. And the only reason that the 4th one wasn't a successful play is because Adonai Mitchell, kind of whiffed on the block on that play, but it is what it is. Those are learning moments, especially when you win a game. It's easier to teach somebody when you have won. You can look back at the film because you know that play did not hurt you. I expect better blocking this game, not only from A.D. Mitchell, but also Gunnar Helm had a couple missed assignments too. But guess what? It's fine, folks. That's what the first game's there for. That's what Rice is for Texas. That's what Middle Tennessee State is for Alabama, is to get them to be able to hit somebody in the face that doesn't look like them, a player that is not on their same team. Now, folks, in saying all this, Texas does have a damn good shot here to win this game. Steve Sarkisian is going to have an outstanding game plan. He's going to have an outstanding script for that first couple of drives, folks. It's going to be amazing. But the chess match is going to come in the second half. And how does Steve Sarkisian look against a Kevin Steele defense? Kevin Steele, folks, is going to be a very I'm not going to say basic, but I'm going to say basic. His defenses are not going to be exotic. He's going to get big. He's going to get back to the basics. Uh, Alabama's previous defensive coordinator, Pete Golding, was very exotic. He did some things out, kind of made me scratch my head with the amount of talent he had in that team. Kevin Steele's going to be very basic. He's going to make sure that the players that are your playmakers are going to be in the perfect position to make plays. I think this suits very well for Texas. I'm telling you why, folks. Kevin Steele's going to go head up. He's going to go head up. And that might help us out a lot more, I think, than anticipated. The interior of our offensive line did not have the best game either. Listening to some of the interviews from Kelvin Banks Jr. in the player conferences after the Rice game, he said that the main thing that offensive line was missing, it wasn't the physicality, it wasn't the blown assignments, it was the communication. It was the communication. Now it's going to be a tall feat, folks, to try to get try to get those comms down in a much more rowdier stadium, especially on the road. But if I have confidence in any coach on this staff outside of Steve Sarkisian, it is Cal Flood. And Cal Flood, I trust. The man loves big humans, and he always has those big humans ready to play. This team's going to be fine this game. I am really ready to see how the starting lineup for that interior offensive line is going to shake up. I am not worried about the tackles. Christian Jones had an amazing game against Rice. Kelvin Banks Jr. He had a missed call. He was trying to send somebody. He thought that he had help to the right of him. He thought Hayden Conner was going to pick up the guy who he let go, and he wasn't there. That was a communication piece that Kelvin Banks Jr. was talking about. But I tell you what, folks, I'm not worried about the tackles. I'm not worried about Christian Jones. I'm not worried about Kelvin Banks Jr. Those guys are going to be totally fine, folks. They're going to be fine against Alabama. I'm telling you. The interior is what is the main portion of this team that I'm worried about. For the entire team, basically, it's the interior offensive line. How is Jake Majors going to stack up Hayden Conner and DJ Campbell? Who's going to play? Who's going to start? I think we understand Jake starting. He is the center. He's been here 4 years. He's starting. Who are the two guards going to be? I would think Hayden Conner is going to be one of those guards. He's probably the best pass blocking guards we have here in this team. Who lines up opposite of Hayden Conner? Is it Neto? Does he play left guard and Hayden goes back to the right guard, a la what happened after Campbell got hurt? Or does Hayden stay at the left guard and then Campbell comes back and plays? Or Cole Hudson is finally healthy. Does Cole Hudson come in this game? It's going to be very interesting. It's going to be a very good chess match. Talking to just a few friends behind scenes, man, it's almost like, do you want to put Cole Hudson back out there because he has been through more firefights than a DJ Campbell and a Neto, which kind of makes sense. You want a guy who's kind of been there, right? Or do you roll with what you thought you had in DJ Campbell, and you still do? It's just it was his first game. Do you roll back out with DJ Campbell and understand that he's going to get better? Do we let him take his lumps here, or does he do very well and do great things against Alabama? And I think he can. A guy that's 6'3", 343 pounds, man. Once his hands are on you, it's a wrap. But the thing was, a lot of mental mistakes on the on that comms piece, on that communication piece in that previous game against Rice. Now, folks, like I said, the defensive line for Alabama is outstanding. The interior offensive line for Texas is a little lacking. It hasn't performed to the talent level that is there as of yet. On the flip side, the Texas defensive line is outstanding. And the Alabama offensive line, although they have a number one or number two player at their respective position for their respective class year on that line, they are very young on the left side. Proctor is a true freshman, played in Iowa. High school football in Iowa is not high school football in the Southeastern Conference. It's not high school football in Florida. It's not high school football in Texas. It's not high school football in California. Iowa football is not the same as what these guys down here in Alabama, Georgia, Florida, Texas, Mississippi, Louisiana, Arkansas, Tennessee, South Carolina, what those guys see every day. It's not the same. And we saw a couple plays where he had a welcome to college football moments from a guy from Middle Tennessee State. He got pretty much leveled by a 240-pound guy, came in on the blitz and just welcomed him to this league. Now, I offer this to you. What happens when you have a guy like Alfred Collins lined up, or Baron Sorrell, or an Ethan Burke who's been in the system and has had his body mature, or a guy like Sweat, Vernon Broughton? What happens when one of those guys lines up over him? He might win his fair share, and he's going to win his fair share. He's a top 5 pick all day long when it's time for him to go to the league. He's a 3-year player. He's going to win his fair share. But with him being young, there's some mistakes that are going to be made. Alabama's left guard, the same thing. True sophomore. Look, there are some mistakes that are going to be made because you're going to have guys like Javonte Sweat and a Byron Murphy and Alfred Collins and a Vernon Broughton who have been here for some time, who have just a little bit more knowledge up here. And maybe that little bit more knowledge is that one extra play Texas needs to get a 3 and out, or to force them to a 4th down, or to get a turnover, get there a tad bit quicker to get a turnover. Maybe that's all Texas needs, folks. It's just that one extra play. Sometimes that's all it takes. So I got the Texas defensive line having a really good game against that Alabama offensive line. I won't say really good, but I think they're going to have a better game against that Alabama offensive line than the Alabama offensive line is going to have against that Texas defensive line. And now we come to the skill position players. I listened to some podcasts this morning, and a guy made a really interesting comment here. He said that he doesn't believe that there is a first round pick at the wide receiver position on Alabama's roster. He said, hell, I don't even know if there's a 2nd round pick on that roster. And this has been a long time since we've been able to say that at the University of Alabama. Texas has some really good defensive backs. The Ryan Watts, the Jalen Catalans, Jaron Thompson, Terrence Brooks, Manny Muhammad, Gavin Holmes, Barron. I love some Barron playing nickel. And I think the Texas defensive backs are going to have a better day against the Alabama wide receivers than vice versa. Okay? Now, if I flip that over and I look at the Texas wide receivers compared to those Alabama defensive backs, I tell you what, I love Caleb Downs. He's a freshman, though, folks, but he's not your true freshman. You understand who his father is and who his uncle is. He has NFL pedigree. He's been taught by some of the best that have played this game. But I tell you what, I love my chances with a guy like Xavier Worthy. Now that he's able to play the position where he's supposed to play, and he's not counted on to be the only guy on that offense that can be explosive. Adonai Mitchell playing that boundary is going to be outstanding for Texas. Xavier Worthy is going to be outstanding for Texas playing that field side. And please do not forget Jordan Whittington. I love some Jordan Whittington. And then, folks, look at this, folks. One more person that we didn't even talk about. And he's a 2nd-team preseason All-American, and that is JT Sanders. Yes, he is a factor. He is a factor when it comes to this Texas football team. Now, I love the Texas offense if things can click with Quinn Ewers and the rest of his skill position players. I like our running back room. Sark came out today in his press conference and said that he pretty much expects C.J. Baxter to be out there and play and do great things. We know what Jay Brooks does. We know what Jonathan Brooks does. All he does is run for touchdowns or catch touchdowns. That's all he does. He's good. And now with the emergence of a guy like Jaden Blue, folks, I tell you what, I love some Jaden Blue. Also Jaden Blue had a hell of a game against Rice. Happy for him. Happy that he stayed here and didn't enter that portal. He looked really good. And not only did he look good and really bouncy and very patient with good balance, people kind of tend to forget that he's not a small back either. He's fast and he's almost 200 pounds. He's 6 foot, almost 200 pounds. So he's one of those guys that, hey, he can get in between the tackles if he has to, but he has great footwork where he can get in there, bounce to the outside, and make an explosive play. So I like our skill position players. I am just worried about the interior of our offensive line. The same problem that I think Alabama has too as well. I like Alabama's their players as a whole. I would take our skill position players at the wide receiver position over Bama's. Bama has a hell of a running back room, though. So look here. The key to this game is going to be which defensive line is going to beat up and make life difficult for the opposing team's offensive line. Which one's going to do it more? Which one's going to do it the best? That's the team that is going to win this game. Which defensive line is going to dominate those trenches? Is it Texas? Is it Alabama? I don't know. Now, Texas does have another caveat that they got to, plan for here, and that's the defeat of Jalen Milroe. Does Texas, employ a spy? Does Texas just play and let their ends contain him, keep him in the pocket without using the spy? I think if they can do that, if they can manage Jalen Milroe and limit the runs that he is going to try to get, because he's going to run, he's going to be effective in the running game. He is, but we got to limit how effective he is in that running game. If we can limit that, I think Texas has a really good shot at winning this game. Let Jalen Milroe beat you with his arm. I'm not saying he can't, but if he beats you with his arm all day, all night, and can't run worth a damn that game, then you just got to tip your hat and say that, look, that was the better man and that was the better team tonight. If he has to beat you with his arm and he can't run and he does beat you with his arm, knowing the talent that we have in that back end, then he was just a better man that night and Alabama was a better team that night. The next thing is Quinn has to play an outstanding game for Texas. He has to be that guy. Quinn is one of the top 3 rated players in the history of high school recruiting, coming out of Dallas, out of South Lake Carroll. Look, he has to be who we think he should be and who we want him to be. Quinn has all the arm talent. But for Quinn to make some of these throws, I've been seeing people making the comments about Quinn's not getting those deep balls completed, which he is not. But everything has to be perfect for this team, folks. I wouldn't say perfect, but everything has to come in unison. That interior offensive line has to block and hold those blocks a little bit longer to give Quinn a little bit of time to step into that throw. He got to be able to step into that throw to make that throw. And maybe he won't throw off his back foot. But, folks, I'm excited about this game. You guys are going to catch me out there on Saturday. You might see me on game day. I might. It depends on how early I get up. But you will see me there on Saturday cheering those horns on. I'm going to have a burnt orange polo. I'm telling you right now, if you see me, holla at me. I'm there. But, folks, who do you think is going to win this game? And does Texas have a chance in this game? I believe we do. Nobody gave us a shot last year. We balled out. We should have won that game. That was a safety on Bryce Young. Yes, I said it. And then on that last play where Bryce ran, go look at the film, right tackle just grabbed all kind of jersey. It is what it is. But I got Texas doing very well in this game. I think it's going to be a very low-scoring game. If I'm not mistaken, I went back and looked at the stats on teams that have scored more than 30 or 35 points on Alabama in Bryant-Denny Stadium. It hasn't been much over the past 4 or 5 years. I think 5 teams. I think Alabama won 3 or 4 of those games. So even when teams do score a lot in that stadium, and Bama still wins, but those games hardly ever go over 35 points. I got this game very close, very similar to last year. I think Texas comes in ready to play. I know Sark has a hell of a game plan. There's some stuff up his sleeves. Sark understands he has his full repertoire of weapons with him right now, and I am excited about it. I got Texas winning 24-20 against Alabama in Bryant-Denny Stadium. We are going to get those guys that are Roll Tides really quiet on Saturday in Bryant-Denny. And one of those is going to be my family members. My in-laws are, Alabama grads. 2 nieces, 2 sister-in-laws, both are Alabama grads. And I am the lone Longhorn in the family. Texas wins 24-20 at Alabama. Hell of a game. You'll see me tailgating. And if we win 24-20, I might not be coherent, okay? But on that note, folks, man, let me know what you guys think. What's your final score prediction? Does Texas have a chance? Do you think they have a chance? And what do you think are the keys to Texas's success to win this game? But like I end this podcast, like I end all my podcasts, don't be afraid to fail. Outgrow your environment. Understand your brilliance. And Nino's Corner, I'm out. And guess what, baby? Them horns, they always up all the damn time. All right, all right, all right.